So I don't know how I landed it, but somehow, well, I do know how. I sent out rate increase letters, and 2 people came back and said, hey, do you do tree trimming? Okay, about the rate increase, do you do tree trimming? And then an acquaintance of mine who owns his own business, mowing business locally, he doesn't do tree work. He's got a customer who wants to do some. So I'm taking you along on the quoting process to see what we need to be doing. And the first thing is these palms here. It looks like homeowner might have tried to dig a couple shovelfuls before he said, yeah, I'm done with that. So the issue with palm trees is that they can have a pretty big root ball, and it's if you don't have something to lift it up out, it can be difficult because you have to dig kind of a shallow angle so that then you can pull the root ball out. I don't know if that's the same with this species of palm, but anyways, so this is the job, is quoting the removal of these. So you always want to see, well, what kind of removal are you wanting? Are you wanting me to just, you know, rake some of this mulch back and then cut it flush to the ground and then cover it back up with mulch? That's obviously going to be a lot cheaper, a lot easier. Or are you wanting this whole root ball dug out, which, again, I'm guessing with this species, but I wouldn't be surprised if the root ball was, you know, a good size compared to the actual mulch bed. So if you want the root ball taken out, you'll have to carve back all this mulch, probably save it somewhere, you know, put it in a wheelbarrow or something, and then dig everything out, scoop it out, replace the dirt, replace the bark. And then there's probably going to be a depression on top of that. The other thing is, depending on your palm trees, you're going to have quite a time of it. So this is something where whatever they wanted done, the first thing I would do is cutting it flush with the ground and then using like a grabber or something to pick it up, or rope to drag it where I don't actually have to touch it, because this stuff will just, it'll eat you alive. So anyways, that's the first one. We've got probably 2 giant root balls with 3 growths on each one. Extremely spiky, extremely painful. And so then the other thing you always need to make sure you're both clear on is, what are you doing with the debris? The quote that I priced, there'll be a little notice in the estimate that says this includes drop off at the curb for the city to pick up for free. Where I live, they drive around with TL3 scoop loaders. It takes them no time at all. That's their main job, so it's not like I'm inconveniencing them. That's part of, you know, the taxes that we pay to the city. That's one of the benefits we have. So this house is in city limits, so I can just leave these at the road for them to pick up. If they want me to take them away, it'll be some kind of upcharge, $75, $100 for the extra time of loading and gas and dump fees and all that kind of stuff. Those are some of the basic things you got to think about when you're doing a quote like this. Anyways, that's the first one. We'll go to the second one. And now our next one is in a fairly recent construction. The builders, they just throw up, you know, 2 scraggly little oak trees so they can meet the minimum number of trees on each house. But they're always real sickly, and especially in this neighborhood, there's a lot of poor drainage, and oak trees, they need good drainage. But like this yard particularly, it's always pretty wet. So this is I don't know what this is, maybe 12, 15 feet. It's not very big. But again, it's one of those things where you got to ask, all right, well, what are you wanting done with this tree? Am I just cutting it off at the base and that's it? Or are you wanting the root structure dug out? And then, you know, with this, are we replacing this with grass or anything like that? So these are all the things you've got to think about when you're doing a job like this. But I mean, something this small, this is real easy to just, you know, cut at the bottom, drag it to the street, cut it in half for the scoop loader, and you'll be done with it. So not super involved. Something like that, you know, if we get the root structure, it'll be a little bit more expensive, and we'll go from there and see what the client wants. We'll probably dispose of the stabilizers too. I don't guess they'd need those anymore. And then in our third and final, we've got what you'd consider more traditional tree work. We want to trim this off the driveway. So this is one thing where you want to be real specific. So if you tell the client you'll trim it a little bit off the driveway, well, what's a little bit? You know, everybody's got different viewpoints on that. But like with this water meter right here, I can say that we will trim, you know, all this stuff even with the water meter, and that'll give them a good gauge. So with this, we're probably if the, you know, your interior ceiling's 8 feet tall, you've probably got close to 15 or 20 to the top of the house. So we're probably at 30 or 40 feet here. I don't know, I'm just guessing. But with the Echo pole saw and the Hasegawa ladders, I should be able to get all that stuff. The other thing is you really don't just want to like come in with an imaginary saw and cut everything on one line and leave it, because that'll look really bad. So you can kind of use that as your guideline, but then as you get into these cuts, you're going to have to figure out where it looks good and natural to actually cut it back. So this is a job that, because of that, you can't really see everything you're going to be getting into. This is one you would definitely want to bid higher rather than lower, because I guarantee you this is going to take longer than you think it is. There's also going to be a lot more cleanup work on this because you're cutting so many individual branches. We'll get a couple of angles of it.
Morning.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
I'm Brad. Very good
Brad,
to meet
nice
you.
to meet you.
Mr. Jones texted me your information, said you wanted to trim this up a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to get, I'd like to get about where your feet are.
Okay.
Right here.
I was looking at that water meter. Would that be kind of a good
line? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, I just like to whack that off.
Uh-huh.
Get some of the leaves and nuts.
Right. This looks like you got a new little strip here, so
Yeah.
you don't want your car getting scratched up or anything like that. So what I'll do, I told him I'll draft an estimate up. He sent me your email, so I'll go ahead and just send it out to you, but that'll probably be this afternoon. And then from there you can say yay or nay. And are you okay with it? It'll be a lot cheaper with just leaving debris at the street for the city to pick up?
They pick up on Tuesdays every afternoon.
So the quotes that you saw were on a Friday. This is a Tuesday. The palm tree quote we're going to do closer to spring, because he told me he wanted to put sod down. I don't think this is the time of year to put down sod in my area. I could be wrong, but if he waits until spring to do it, but I've done the work now, weeds are going to take over all of those areas that I clear out. So we're going to do that one closer to spring. The oak tree, they wanted to wait until they got a little bit more discretionary income to spend on that. You know, the tree's not hurting anything, so it's not a real big priority. This one we got the go-ahead for, so we're going to be trimming this up today. We've got our wheelbarrow for fine debris. Most of this stuff I'll just be able to stack and drag to the street in one big pile. We've got our Hasegawa 12-foot for when we get up to the real high stuff. We've got our Echo 58-volt power base. We've got a pole saw, a short reach hedge trimmer, an articulating hedge trimmer, and 2 3-foot extensions. So this is what we'll be doing probably all the work with. I also have my Toro chainsaw just in case, but I don't think I'll need that. All right, so if I didn't mess anything up, we should have the drone filming, we should have that camera filming. Tree work's one of those things that's really good to get into, even if you do it on a smaller scale, because it's one of those things where you charge based off of value rather than time, and that's always going to get you a lot more money than if you're just, you know, mowing for 30 bucks a pop. This job in particular is one I quoted at $250. And when you look at the amount of time that's going to take, that drone is really close to that flag. I did not realize that. I do not like that. I think that thing drifted. It did drift. What in the world? Well, that's pretty scary. Well, let's bring him up a little bit so he doesn't do that again. That was not good. How long has he been doing that? Oh well. That's not what you want to see when you buy a brand new $600 drone. Anyways, I don't even remember what I was talking about, but I guess it wasn't important. I might take some flack for this because I'm going way far on where the HOA's tree is, right? We're cutting this branch all the way to the trunk. But what's gonna happen is if I cut it right above the water meter, there's just gonna be this big branch that's not gonna have any growth on it, and that's not good for the tree. It's pointless to leave it. So I don't wanna hear any comments about, You're going too far onto the, no, this is, you can't just cut it there and leave a 4-foot bare branch. That's not how you're supposed to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna take it back to there. At least the drone looks like it's where it's supposed to be. The other thing about tree trimming is you don't want to make it seem like the client wasted money. So you don't want to cut it where it's just going to grow back in a year. You know, I guess that's good job security, but it's not good work to me. You want to cut stuff far enough back that they aren't going to have any problem with what you just cut for a very long time. At least to me. You see, this whole structure is another one where if I cut off back to the water main, all this stuff's still going to be here. I can cut right here. That's not going to look good. That's not going to look good. Not too bad. I want to make sure your cuts are nice and clean so the tree can heal as well. So again, this is just a 3-foot extension you put in between the pole saw and the power base. So I've ran this Echo, they call it a PAS, Pro Attachment System, since 2017, and I really like it because it lets you, for not too much money, get into equipment that you need but you don't use a ton, like a pole saw or an articulating hedge trimmer. And it's because you're just buying the piece that does the work, and you weren't buying a motor every single time. So it's really good if you've got work that you want to get into but you're not going to be doing all the time. And it's held up well over the past 5 years. I haven't had any issues with any of it. Let me see, I'm trying to figure out what you can see best. This pole saw also has a hook at the end of it, which is good for grabbing and pulling stuff down, especially when it gets hung up in the trees. And so again, this is part of why this thing's $250, because I've got to have a lot of specialty equipment, and I think I will need that ladder at the end of it. But it's not just about price and how long it's going to take you, Let's just get the ladder out. I gotta take a little piece of this first, otherwise it'll come back at me. And then we can take this branch. Watch out! That's up. The other thing about these Hasegawas, this model of them at least has a little crow's nest up here. Gives you a little bit better working spot. And again, I know it looks sketchy, but it's actually not bad. We got to get the rubber feet for the Hasegawa. Anytime you put this ladder on concrete, you need to add rubber feet that comes with, so it's a little safer. And this is just because these aluminum clawed feet are great for dirt and gravel and grass, but they'll just skip or skid on something like concrete. So that's why you got to add these feet, and they just kind of slide on over them, just like you're putting shoes on. So see, that one hit my helmet. I'm fine though. That's why you wear a helmet. All right. So at this point we need all the trash there, my truck's there, so I'm gonna wheel around and come pull so I can start cleaning all this stuff up. Once we clean all that up, we can see where we're finally at. All right, so we are back. Moved most of the debris to the street, and I'll show you the pile at the end here. We had moved the truck, of course, like I said. We've got probably 4 or 5 more big branches to take, and then maybe a little cleaning up with a hedge trimmer. We're gonna mix things up a little bit, add on another extension and a hedge trimmer. Yeah, this guy's sticking out further than I would like. Come on. There we go. Okay. All right, now I'm going to clean and pack up, and then I'll show you your final shots. So we're officially done. There's your before and after shots. Here is all the debris that was generated. It's probably 30 or 40 foot long pile at 2 to 4 feet high. So as a recap, I believe I showed up to this property right around 8:45, left right around 10:45. So when I say I was there for 2 man-hours, yeah, that's probably about how long I was working, minus maybe 15 or 20 minutes of jaw-jacking with the client when he was out there, and I did some filming stuff as well that took a little bit of time too. Of course, you always have to add on to that the things that aren't fun to watch or to talk about. Probably a 10-minute drive, just a couple of miles away from the house. What, $2 or $3 in fuel for the truck, a couple of cents in fuel for the backpack blower. I didn't use any fuel, I used electric power for most of the cutting. Loading up all the tools from the garage and the workshop into the trailer. Then when I got home, loading all those things out, making sure that the chainsaw and the pole saw were cleaned and ready to go, and all the batteries were put on the chargers, you know, all that kind of stuff that has to be done but isn't fun to actually think about or watch. But if you're running a business, you do need to take that into account as well. Anyways, I hope this video was enjoyable and helped you learn something. Thanks so much for watching. Here's a few more that YouTube thinks you might like. I really do appreciate it.